when I look at Justin Gaethje, I think there are a number of things that he does very well. But when I look at him, I think about obviously his punching power, his wrestling ability. But the thing that stands out the most is the mentality, right? Justin Gaethje has a mentality of a straight assassin. From the moment he won the belt, most guys are wrapped in joy. He threw the belt down and said, "I want the real one." Today, when him and Khabib was at the press conference, they handed him his belt. He said, "I don't want this. I want Khabib's." Right? Just the mental of this man and his laser focus coupled with his abilities makes him very, very dangerous.
You mentioned mentality. Khabib told everyone through a tweet or on social media that this training camp has been the hardest physically and mentally for him. Do you think, this will be an issue for Khabib, knowing him? You've been training with him for a long time. Do you think that this is the first time you hear Khabib speaking that way to his fans and to everyone listening?
No, honestly, I've been in training camps where just because you guys didn't hear about it, where Khabib has had difficulties, where he's had tough training camps, where things weren't ideal and he got through it and he went out and he dominated, right? So I think that now it seems like a big deal because he's saying it publicly. But training camps don't go according to plan very often. So I imagine he got a good training camp, and I wasn't a part of it. It was here in the Middle East, and I was back in America. So I'm certain it was very tough and difficult and grueling, but most of them are. And I just think it's a big deal because for the first time he's saying it, right? Kind of letting you guys into his mental more than he normally does.
And speaking of that, what do you think of Justin criticizing Khabib training with his friends, his colleagues, yes men? This is what he said. Do you think not training at AKA with American wrestlers? Ali Abdulaziz brings in some of his, guys to train with him. There's a bit of a competition at AKA, but here it seems like it's a closed environment with his friends. And Justin criticized that this training camp wouldn't be the training camp that he used to have when he was training at AKA.
Well, I think that when he's at AKA, he is training with a lot of these same guys, right? So these guys give him rounds too. But when you're in the gym like we had, where there's guys that have held UFC titles, we won 5 UFC championships out of that gym, right? There's a built-in competition to spar better on that day, to make sure you're working harder. Obviously, there's a little bit lost in that, right, when you don't get to do it. But I think Justin's telling himself the things that he needs to find comfort in his approach. I have no doubt that Islam and Zuba and Usman and all those guys tried to beat Khabib up every single day. Do they beat him up? I don't think so. But people don't beat him up at AKA. They just push him. And I'm certain those guys did the same thing here in the Middle East.
Another thing he mentioned, and I don't want to keep talking about what Justin says, but it's interesting the way he talks, and he could be saying this, as you said, to make himself feel better, or it's like a psychological game. He said that he didn't see any footage. He didn't study any footage before this fight. Do you think that's a good idea? I mean, I know you probably study some of your opponent's footage. Do you think that's something that he will pay a price for not doing, or maybe his coaches are doing it for him?
Not so much, because I don't watch very much footage myself. I think when you say you didn't watch much, you are saying that your coach did it, right? I'm sure Trevor Whitman, who is one of the smartest guys in the game, spent plenty of time trying to figure out where and how to approach the Khabib puzzle. But it's not rocket science. Most people know what Khabib is going to do. They know how he's going to approach a fight. It's just a matter of whether or not you can stop it. And nobody to this point has been able to stop it. But yeah, Justin may not have watched a ton of film on Khabib himself, but I'm sure Trevor Whitman did. And I know that Justin watched Khabib's fights prior, even if it was just as a fan of the sport. And those times stay with you, right? So whereas when I was getting ready to fight Jones or Stipe, I may not have watched a ton of footage on them in the moment, but I had seen them compete on a number of occasions prior, and that kind of sticks with you.